Today, we'll debate, should we ban conspiracy theories from the internet, with Eleanor, a progressive activist, and Daniel, a libertarian advocate. They're two artificial intelligence personas. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Eleanor. I've spent my career as a journalist and community organizer focused on advancing social justice and promoting equity in our society. In today's complex world, misinformation has significant consequences, eroding our democracy, threatening public health, and disrupting social cohesion. I've seen firsthand how unchecked conspiracy theories can incite harm and division, both online and in the real world. I believe it's crucial that we prioritize truth and transparency to safeguard public welfare. Therefore, I support efforts to regulate harmful misinformation on digital platforms. By partnering with fact-checking organizations and holding tech companies accountable, we can ensure that our online spaces reflect ethical standards and protect users from harmful content. It's about balancing free expression with the collective responsibility we have to promote factual information for the betterment of society.
Hi, I'm Daniel. As a tech entrepreneur deeply immersed in the innovative spirit of Silicon Valley, I'm a staunch advocate for individual freedoms, personal responsibility, and a marketplace of ideas free from heavy-handed government intervention. I believe in the power of free speech as a fundamental right that allows society to thrive through open debate and exchange of ideas. Attempts to ban conspiracy theories from the internet concern me because they set a dangerous precedent for censorship, infringing upon our rights and limiting diverse viewpoints. Instead, I believe we should empower individuals to critically evaluate information, cultivating a society that can discern truth from falsehood without the need for authoritative regulation. Censoring content can drive dangerous ideas underground, making them more difficult to counter. Trusting in the capacity of rational individuals to engage with diverse perspectives is key to both innovation and liberty.
Thank you, guys. Eleanor and Daniel will now present their 3 rounds of arguments.
Certainly, Daniel, I understand and respect your commitment to individual freedoms and personal responsibility, as they are indeed foundational aspects of our society. However, when it comes to the digital landscape, the rapid spread of misinformation poses unique challenges that can have tangible, harmful effects, something we cannot ignore. Imagine if tech companies, like those in Silicon Valley, partnered more actively with fact-checking organizations to ensure that digital platforms are spaces where truth is prioritized. This collaboration could nurture an environment that still values innovation and expression but takes a proactive stance in curbing dangerous misinformation. By establishing systems that fact-check and label dubious content, we're not censoring speech but adding layers of context that allow users to make more informed decisions. This approach respects free expression but aligns with a broader ethical responsibility that tech companies, and we as a society, hold in ensuring that innovation does not come at the cost of public welfare and truthfulness. This kind of model can foster a healthier, more constructive dialogue that benefits everyone.
Eleanor, I appreciate your dedication to promoting social justice and public welfare. Those are admirable goals. However, I'm concerned about the notion of regulating speech and content on digital platforms, even with the best intentions. When we start banning conspiracy theories, we enter into a gray area of who decides what is considered harmful misinformation and what rights they hold to make those decisions. This can lead to an overreach, where well-meaning efforts to protect society inadvertently quash legitimate discourse and minority perspectives, a principle I know you value in your advocacy for equity. Moreover, when entities, whether government or private companies, act as gatekeepers of truth, it can stifle innovation and critical thought. For every harmful conspiracy theory, there are countless ideas that challenge the status quo and drive societal growth. Instead of imposing top-down regulations, we should focus on educating individuals to critically engage with content and support a marketplace of ideas where truth naturally prevails through open discourse. This respects the diversity of ideas and preserves the freedoms that underpin a vibrant democracy.
Daniel, you've raised valid concerns about the importance of preserving freedom and the challenges of determining what constitutes harmful misinformation. However, my perspective is that we're not talking about suppressing innovation or diverse thought but addressing clear-cut falsehoods that have demonstrable negative impacts on public welfare. Take, for instance, conspiracy theories that undermine public health measures. These can lead to tangible harm and cost lives. The key here is not to stifle discourse but to equip individuals with the tools to distinguish fringe falsehoods from credible information. By implementing thoughtful content moderation, platforms can flag and contextualize content without outright bans or censorship. Think of it as a guiding framework, similar to how warning labels work, that doesn't impede free speech but informs it. This model supports your desire for educating individuals, by highlighting credible sources and encouraging critical engagement rather than top-down suppression. It's about balancing the protection of free discourse with the ethical responsibility platforms have in preventing the spread of information that could lead to real-world harm. Implementing a measured approach not only aligns with progressive ideals of equity and truth but also respects the pluralism you champion by allowing discourse within a well-informed public sphere.
Eleanor, I understand and share your concerns about the impact of misinformation, especially in critical areas like public health. However, I believe that the focus should be on empowering individuals to navigate this landscape through education and critical thinking skills, rather than relying on platforms to mediate truth for them. By placing the burden of fact-checking on digital platforms, we risk creating an environment where users become passive consumers of information, relying on external authorities to determine what's true or false. This can stifle the development of the critical skills necessary for discerning information independently. Moreover, the implementation of these guiding frameworks you described can be subject to bias, potentially reflecting the viewpoints of those in charge rather than an objective standard of truth. This, in turn, could marginalize dissenting voices and unconventional ideas that are vital for societal progress and innovation. Instead of moderating content, platforms might better serve users by transparently providing the tools and resources to conduct their own evaluations of information, fostering an informed and engaged public without the risks of censorship or bias. This approach not only acknowledges the real challenges posed by misinformation but upholds the individual liberties that ensure a dynamic and resilient society.
Daniel, I hear you. Education and critical thinking are undoubtedly crucial in the fight against misinformation. Relying solely on them, though, is a bit like expecting people to solve complex math problems without giving them a calculator. Sure, it builds character, but it's not the most efficient way to get things done. Platforms flagging false information isn't about making users complacent, it's about ensuring they don't accidentally fall into rabbit holes filled with moon landing conspiracies and Elvis sightings. Think of the moderation tools not as authoritative gatekeepers, but more as those helpful signs in an airport that keep you from boarding a plane to Bermuda when you meant to go to Boston. While I agree that any system can fall prey to bias, that's why transparency and accountability are key in these processes. By working with diverse groups and using AI ethically, we can minimize these biases. In summary, it's about thoughtfully guiding the conversation without censoring it and helping citizens become more informed without overwhelming them with the sole responsibility of sorting fact from fiction. After all, a well-informed public is a democracy's best defense. Just ask any future visitor to Bermuda who lands where they intended.
Eleanor, I've got to hand it to you, your analogy game is strong. Calculators and airports, who knew debates could feel like a travel guide? Still, we want to encourage people to flex those critical thinking muscles. Relying on platforms to fact-check everything is like giving them a GPS that constantly says, recalculating, every time they take a step off the beaten path. Moderation tools aren't inherently bad, I admit, but when they start acting like the internet's restaurant critic, deciding what's a 5-star meal and what's not worth the taste, we've got issues. We can't let them become the Simon Cowell of content, harshly critiquing every piece that doesn't fit the mainstream mold. There's value in diverse ideas, even those that dare suggest Elvis might have started a cult on the moon. Spoiler, he didn't. In the end, empowering individuals through education and transparency can help us avoid the pitfalls of accidental censorship. Let's trust people to find their way, maybe with a signpost or two, but without turning every digital street corner into a detour plan for them. Free will is a terrific tour guide, even if we occasionally end up on a scenic route.
Thank you for your speeches. Someone from the audience will now make a question to Eleanor and Daniel.
Hello, my name's Amanda, and I'm a sociology professor interested in how digital platforms shape social behavior and culture. I've really enjoyed the debate so far, lots of food for thought here. I'd like to ask Eleanor about the role of education systems and community programs outside of tech platforms in this issue. How do you see their influence in combating misinformation? It seems like beyond corporate responsibility, there's a societal responsibility too to prepare individuals with critical thinking skills in real-world settings, not just online. How would you integrate those efforts with platform moderation to foster a more informed public?
Thank you, Amanda, for raising such an important point. Education and community programs play a crucial role in this conversation, serving as the foundation where critical thinking skills can be nurtured long before individuals engage with digital platforms. I see these elements as complementing the efforts of content moderation rather than operating in isolation. In schools, we can integrate media literacy into the curriculum, teaching students how to analyze sources, understand biases, and discern credible information from misinformation. Community programs can expand these concepts outside the classroom, providing workshops and resources that guide all age groups in engaging critically with content. By collaborating with tech platforms, educational institutions can also develop interactive tools or modules that tech companies could integrate into user experiences. These could be gamified learning experiences about identifying misinformation. This holistic approach not only arms individuals with the skills to critically engage with content online but also reinforces the responsible consumption of information more broadly, creating a culture that values truth and transparency from the ground up. It's about building a well-rounded strategy that tackles misinformation from multiple angles.
Sure, Daniel, I've been really intrigued by your perspectives. I wanted to ask about the potential economic impact of banning conspiracy theories from the internet. Given your background in tech entrepreneurship, how do you see the relationship between a free flow of information, including controversial content, and innovation within the tech industry? Could content regulation stifle not just free speech but also entrepreneurial creativity in the development of new technologies? How might entrepreneurs balance the need for innovation with the ethical considerations around misinformation?
Great question, Amanda. The relationship between a free flow of information and innovation is critical, especially in the tech industry, where creativity often thrives on unconventional ideas and diverse perspectives. When we start regulating content heavily, we risk creating an environment where entrepreneurs might feel constrained or hesitant to explore innovative concepts that don't conform to the mainstream narrative. This could lead to a homogenization of ideas, stifling the very creativity and risk-taking that drives technological advancement. Imagine if revolutionary ideas, like those behind disruptive technologies, were suppressed simply because they challenge the status quo. It could hinder the next big breakthrough. To balance innovation with the ethical considerations around misinformation, entrepreneurs need to foster a culture of transparency and responsibility within their companies. This means designing platforms in ways that encourage critical thinking and facilitate discussions, rather than outright censoring content. Additionally, industry leaders can collaborate with educators and researchers to develop tools and resources that help users navigate misinformation without stifling dialogue. Ultimately, it's about creating an ecosystem that supports both innovation and ethical accountability, ensuring that the digital space remains dynamic and open while also being mindful of its societal impact.
The debaters now have a minute to talk about something they regret not bringing up to the discussion.
Well, looking back, I regret not bringing up my favorite comparison for misinformation. It spreads faster than cat videos and unfortunately doesn't leave us feeling as warm and fuzzy. You know, what's a debate without mentioning cats, right? And Daniel, I've got to admit, your metaphor about content moderation being like Simon Cowell of the internet had me chuckling. As much as I love a good talent show critique, not every conspiracy theory can carry a tune. I mean, some of them would make even the most forgiving judge hit the buzzer. But hey, I appreciate the creativity. Maybe if this whole tech entrepreneur thing doesn't work out, there's a future for you in reality TV hosting.
Reflecting on our lively debate, I must say I regret not introducing the idea that if conspiracy theories were banned, we'd miss out on some of the best plot twists this side of Netflix. I mean, where else do we get such creative writing for free? Clearly, I should have argued for their artistic merit. And Eleanor, your point about flags and warnings being like those handy airport signs got me thinking, if only our GPSs had that level of moderation, maybe I'd stop ending up in those scenic routes to nowhere. But seriously, while I see the value in guidance, sometimes those airport signs just send me straight to the overpriced food court instead of the gate I actually need. It's a fun analogy, though, reminds us all how navigating the digital world can sometimes feel like dodging traffic in a terminal.
Thank you, folks. Let's go over to our judges.
Eleanor's scores. 1. Argumentation and content. 8 out of 10. Eleanor effectively utilized well-reasoned arguments that underscored the need for regulation to protect public welfare. Her points were supported by relevant examples and evidence of misinformation's real-world impact, showing a strong grasp of the issue. However, her arguments could have benefited from expanding on alternative solutions beyond platform moderation. 2. Engagement and rebuttals. 9 out of 10. Eleanor was adept at addressing Daniel's points with poise and injecting humor to maintain an engaging dialogue. Her rebuttals were thoughtful, addressing economic and social impacts without resorting to dismissiveness. Her ability to weave counterpoints effectively kept the debate dynamic and respectful. 3. Style and delivery. 9 out of 10. Eleanor's style was articulate and relatable, using humor to make complex points more digestible. Her delivery was confident, and she built a narrative that engaged both the audience and her opponent. Her use of analogies made her arguments more accessible, although occasionally they relied heavily on familiar concepts. Daniel's scores. 1. Argumentation and content. 7 out of 10. Daniel presented compelling arguments about the risks of censorship and the importance of individual freedoms. His focus on innovation and entrepreneurship provided a distinctive angle, though he sometimes overemphasized potential negative impacts without offering as many solutions to balance free speech with misinformation concerns. 2. Engagement and rebuttals. 8 out of 10. Daniel effectively responded to Eleanor's arguments, using humor to maintain an engaging back and forth. His ability to turn Eleanor's points on their head without coming across as dismissive showed analytical depth. Regardless, he occasionally sidelined some of Eleanor's more grounded concerns about misinformation's direct impact. 3. Style and delivery. 9 out of 10. Daniel's delivery was relaxed and engaging, incorporating humor to maintain the audience's attention. His use of relatable metaphors and examples encouraged a lighthearted but thought-provoking discourse. While effective, his reliance on humor sometimes overshadowed the gravity of certain points, potentially diluting the seriousness of his argument.
What are your opinions about the debate? What would you like to see AI's debate next? Keep questioning.